Welcome to the show that has it all. This is the Betfred Super League.
What a game!
Champions, challengers, newcomers, leagues faithful. Hold on tight. This is the Betfred Super League 2024. There's nothing like league.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Eddie and Stevo, the podcast. Well, this should be a special week, as thousands of rugby league fans head to Wembley for the Betfred Challenge Cup final. It should be a day of fun and celebration. But this year there is a sombre mood, not just within the sport itself, but across the entire country, because of the sad passing of a true rugby league icon and legend. You surely can't have missed the news this week that Rob Burrow passed away on Sunday afternoon, leaving us all devastated that he's finally lost his final battle against the awful motor neurone disease. At 41, Rob has been taken far too early. And in this week's edition of the podcast, we will pay tribute to one of the game's greatest ever players. In a minute or two, I'll talk to one of Rob's former teammates who knew him better than most. That's Barrie McDermott. He's kindly agreed to share his thoughts with us at this dreadfully sad time. But first, if you've watched and listened to some of the many tributes this week to Rob Burrow, I'm sure you will have noticed that my voice and that of Stevo's were across some of the greatest tries that he ever scored. So it's fitting that Stevo kicks us off this week and begins with his own personal tribute.
Eddie, a truly sad day for rugby league and sport in general. Rob was a wonderful player, an outstanding character who, for all the world, looked too small and fragile to play in our tough body contact sport. Many suggested he wasn't big enough to make his mark, but those doubters soon learned of this man's ability both on and off the field of play. It's difficult to choose one word to define his career. He was fast, courageous, tough, greatest, a star, when in fact he was all those wrapped up into what we call a legend. His fight against MND was a lesson to us all to never give in, to smile in troubled times, and to give hope to all those sufferers that one day a cure will be found for this cruel disease. During many years as a commentator, I often referred to him as Beep Beep, the road runner. He was fast, he was a hard man to catch, scoring some amazing tries. Eddie, he was small in stature, but a giant of our game, one of the very best. A man who touched the hearts of every rugby league fan and the respect of anyone connected to the greatest game of all. We will never forget the little maestro. Rest in peace, my friend.
Wonderful words and memories, Stevo. Thank you ever so much. Now, ever since Rob was diagnosed with MND in December 2019, just 2 years after he hung up his boots following the 2017 grand final victory against Castleford, there's been a band of brothers surrounding Rob and his family, offering their support. Possibly, in fact, probably, with the exception of Kevin Sinfield, no one was more devoted than Barrie McDermott. And I'm privileged to say that Barrie joins me now to talk about his former teammate. And it's the first time the big man has spoken publicly to anyone since the news hit us all on Sunday. Barrie, thank you so much for joining me. Rob's passing must be hitting you pretty hard.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It's sort of up and down, really. And, you know, you kindly said nobody more than, that's not 100% accurate. He had so many friends around him. You know, some did things that everybody knew about, which was the stuff that Kev was tasked to do because he was capable of getting, you know, the nation behind whatever challenge he was doing. And then some people were just doing what they could to support Rob, the family, his kids and wife and all, you know, all that stuff. So I'm one of many, and I was proud and privileged to do so. And I was always welcome either in his mum and dad's house or in his own house. Although it took Irene a while to get the posh coffee out for me, I'll tell you.
I'm sure.
Keith Senior was her favourite. She always got the posh one out for him, and just any old supermarket brand for me. But yeah, I'm sort of up and down really. And as we record this, we're almost midweek. So found out Sunday, and had a few really, really sad days, and I mean really sad. But I had a phone call with Kylie Lulawai today, because we're all just checking in with each other. Rugby lads are pretty good like that. And I had a really good conversation, and we swapped stories, and it's the first time I've allowed myself to find that humour and the dark humour that we all shared with Rob, because he had a wicked sense of humour, but it was the first time I'd allowed myself to listen or to speak about stuff like that. So I do feel a bit better today, and I feel more reflective today. I've just been sad the last couple of days.
I'm sure you have. I mean, we all knew, didn't we, that sadly this time was on the way 4.5 years ago when he was first diagnosed. But what an impact, Barry, he has had, not just on rugby league, but on the world in general. I mean, Prince William, Princess Anne, Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, they've all been paying tribute to him over the past few days. You know, his passing has transcended just about everything. And even on Saturday at the Challenge Cup final, they're going to do a minute's silence, obviously, before the game. At Twickenham, where the Gallagher Premiership kicks off at the same time, after 7 minutes, they're going to join the Wembley crowd in a minute's applause for him. That's been announced in the past 24 hours. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. He's commanded a hell of a lot of respect from a lot of different sectors. Different pockets of people have really latched onto him because of what he did in sport. It was phenomenal what he did as a rugby league player, because he was so small and so brave, and I've used the phrase in the land of the giants, he managed to thrive, and he did. But it wasn't just that people latched onto. It was that young family. It was Lindsay. It was his family unit, and everybody can see a little bit of themselves in what he has underneath his roof. And we all count our blessings that it's not us or one of our loved ones. And you know, you just go through things in your mind. I'm really frustrated, and that Kev and Rob didn't get the ultimate accolade. We've called him Sir Kevin for a long time, but it should have been Sir Rob Burrow. It should have been Sir Kevin Sinfield the last time they got something. But that's irrelevant now, and it matters not. It doesn't matter to Kev or to Rob, but that's just the passion that we got for them two people. But so many people are connected to their journey and their story, and I'm pleased to see what's being done for him, and there'll be many things, and I've had lots and lots of invites, and I won't be going to the Challenge Cup final because it's too sad. I'm not ready to be around people just yet, and people who I don't know, and maybe Rob didn't know, and you know, just that side of things. I'm not ready for it yet. But what I will do is I'll be proud of what us as a family are doing, and our cousins over in rugby union. You know, they might be looking after one of our own without telling anybody who's not there, but they might be looking after one of our own over at Twickenham. I'm sure they'll look after him.
I'm sure they will. I mean, as I said at the top of the podcast, you know, it should be a week of celebration and fun and laughter, but there is a somber mood. There is no question about that. How ironic, though, that he passed away on Sunday, and within 24 hours, the first spade went in of the Rob Burrow MND Treatment Centre in Leeds. Yeah. Isn't it just one of those things? The first spade in the ground the next day.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I think, Ed? And obviously I spent a lot of time, and there were peaks and troughs in his health and his wellness. And, you know, sometimes I went to see him and he looked really poorly. And then other times he was, you know, full of life, full of joy, full of laughter. But there's been landmarks that I think have given the drive to, not to stay alive, that's too strong of a phrase, but the drive to be there and be present. And he never said no to anything. And again, you know, conversations I've had with Kylie, we were his bodyguards. He took over from me, and we looked after him on the field, and he tormented us off the field, and what we would do and what all his friends would do is say, no, he's not doing that. But he would go to a raffle, he would go to a school, he would go to an amateur club, as well as sit down with Princess Anne, and as well as meet all the dignitaries and royalty and members of Parliament, all that stuff. People with presence, he wouldn't differentiate with anybody. That was his great strength. But during the last couple of months, he hasn't been well. He hasn't been well at all. And when I got a text from Lindsay on Thursday saying he'd gone in hospital with pneumonia, I had a chat with my wife, and my wife said, you need to go and see him. And I don't think my mind said it would be the last time, but I knew I wanted to go. I knew I had to go. I sat down with him for an hour. And talked with his family, and everybody was really positive. Everybody was, really, matter of fact in what was going to happen from that point on. I didn't think for 1 minute that would be the last time I'd see him. But yeah, he'd be really proud of the centre. It was a big focus of him. And his nature, really, the humility that he lived his life and the selfless nature that he had. He wanted to make it easier for other people. And thanks to Kev, thanks to Rob, that's going to become a reality very shortly.
Indeed so. Well, he will live on forever because of, £20 million he and Kevin have raised between them for the MND Association, this new treatment centre in Leeds. The heart and soul of the game, the heart and soul of the man. And you said he is brave beyond words. He's taught me so much about courage, kindness, and love. There can be nothing better said about anybody at this awful time.
Yeah. And I could have written so many things because I've learned so much from him, watching him with his family. And I've said it many times, the most private bloke I've ever met in the game, because he literally finished training, get in his car and drive home because he wanted to get home to his family, because that's what was important to him. I'm talking about in the days of his family being very young, because I know Jackson's still young, but I'm talking about when they were very young. He just wanted to get home and he wanted to spend time with Lindsay. He wanted to spend time with his kids, and that was what was important to him. But what he did is he opened the door to the world to see him at his weakest, at his most vulnerable. Another ex-teammate, Adrian Morley, and myself, we're talking about an event that we'd been to, and it was a great event. A couple of ex-players all sat there having a chat, and Rob were there, and Rob were obviously at the back end. He wasn't able to fend for himself. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't look after himself. And there's all those things that when you don't know until you see it, you don't know how you're going to react. And Moz said it took his breath away to watch him being fed. People who've been around him a bit more would be slightly desensitised to it. But yeah, it's difficult.
Rob was Pontefract born, which is in the Wakefield Council area. The town hall apparently has been lit up in blue and orange this week, the colours of the MND Association, as a tribute to him as well. Just tell us one thing. I know you're very much in touch with Jeff and Irene, his mum and dad, and his sisters. How are they coping with all this?
I haven't spoke to them. I've exchanged messages with Lindsay. I've left Jeff and Irene alone a little bit. I saw them on TV when the spade was going in the ground, and I just was in awe of them. I've got tears in my eyes thinking about it. I had tears in my eyes watching it, and they were there giving an interview and talking about what Rob would have wanted. I'm trying to keep telling myself what Rob would have wanted, instead of feeling sorry for myself because my pal's gone. I'm trying to think, right, well, what would he want us to do, and what would Rob want us all to do? And I guess Irene, Jeff, Lindsay, I've had those conversations, those tough conversations, lots and lots of times before now, because he knew it was coming, they knew it was coming, and I know he would want things a certain way. He would want things done a certain way. He was an halfbacker. He was an organiser. He told everybody what to do. So I've no doubt he'd have been telling everybody what to do long before the inevitable.
When he went on Sunday, His passing led the national and international news on the television, both BBC and ITN. He's on the front page of the Daily Express with a headline, "He inspired the nation," the Daily Mirror, "True Hero," and the Daily Star, "The bravest man in Britain." Barry was a little man who made a massive difference. He was 5'5" tall and less than 11 stones in weight. I mean, it's incredible, absolutely incredible what he's achieved.
He always was up against adversity, and when you think back, and it's not crass to talk like this because I know we had good fun and we had good fun together. But I met him when he was all teeth, nose, and ears, and he looked like an 11-year-old kid. And I'm thinking, how the hell is this kid going to survive with all those monsters trying to get hold of him? But he found a way, and he found friends in the changing room that would have, that often went to war for him, but would have died for him. So what he's managed to do is he's managed to show a different version of that to everybody. And everybody that came across him, everybody that had anything to do with him, especially at the back end, when he couldn't talk, and he would gesture, he would give physical signals to people, and it'd be a smile or it'd be a laugh, or he'd raise his eyebrows, or, at the real back end, he couldn't do anything. But people and their warmth towards him was felt by him, and hopefully they felt that warmth back, and he appreciated everybody. So I'm not surprised that everybody thinks the world of him. I'm surprised how far it's gone, how far the story has gone. But I do believe that's the condition he's got, and that's the bravery he showed throughout that journey, and refusing to get in, and refusing to fight. And I don't want to go into the details, but when I saw him in hospital, he was struggling. And he rallied a little bit after, and that fight that he's got and had all his life, he wouldn't give up, and that's what everybody clung on to, and that's what everybody saw in him.
Fabulous tributes, Barry, to him. Let's just look at his rugby league career. I mean, we've talked non-stop so far about what he has done since he hung up his boots. I mean, 16 years at Leeds, 8 Super League Grand Final wins, 3 World Club Challenge titles, 2 Challenge Cups, Super League Dream Team, Harry Sunderland Award winner. And when he was named in 2011, after that greatest ever Grand Final try that I had the privilege of commentating on, 100% of the votes in the press box went to Rob Burrow. He was a lion on the field, wasn't he? MBE, CBE, New Year's honours just this past year, an absolute lion. We've lost an icon. We've lost a legend.
It's difficult to find words to do his 41 years justice.
It is indeed. What's the best memory you've got, Barry, of him as a playing partner?
They're all funny ones, actually. They're all they're all laughing, and like I said, both Kylie and I were tormented by him, and he told me a story about how he choked him out because he'd gone too far one day, and I told him a story about I'd had enough of his pranks and his tricks, and tried to chase him, couldn't get hold of him, ended up getting him in the changing room and battered him, and to the point where he was just laughing at me. I couldn't put any power into the punches. I couldn't put any power into anything I did. But I still wanted him to know to pack it in. But there's just lots. There's lots of stuff. And do you know one of the strongest memories? And it was something after. So as you know, I don't dance, but I did a Strictly Ball dance thing.
Yeah, you did, and you won it, didn't you? You won it.
I did. And after putting the phone down on Kylie, I picked the video up and I watched the video and him laughing his head off. I can still see his face as I'm prancing away to Michael Jackson. And there's lots of that stuff.
Memories that you will take with you, Barry, for the rest of your life. And there
are a lot I can't tell, Eddie.
I'm sure. Well, I know exactly how he must have felt the day that you chased him in the dressing room, because you and O'Connor used to chase me around the car park when we were at Sky, and you nearly killed me with all the pressing and the pushing and the shoving you gave me. So I know exactly what he went through, and I didn't really
want to catch you, though, Eddie. I didn't
really
want to catch you.
Oh, you did.
if I caught you, I'd have had to have done some damage. But I wanted to catch him, and I wanted to do some damage. I just couldn't.
Don't worry, you did damage. You did damage to me. Don't worry about that. The two of you, a pair of devils. Look, it would be remiss of a podcast like this in Challenge Cup week not to talk about the game. It is going to be a fantastic celebration of his life. Yes, it's a somber mood. There's no doubt about that. But Wigan, Warrington, they have the chance, don't they, on Saturday at Wembley to give us all a lift and let us think about the great things of rugby league and the great things that Rob Burrow did and achieved.
Well, first and foremost, the responsibility of both teams is to give us a world-class game, an outstanding game. We're in Origin territory, aren't we? And that's often described as the pinnacle of our sport. Well, let's give everybody who might have eyes on the game, who wouldn't have done ordinarily, a really spectacular game and a real treat. So I've got two trails of thought. Wigan are, for me, the best team in the competition at the minute. They defend well, they attack well. They've got some magnificent players, obviously. A couple of suspensions in there, but the strength and depth of them means that they're going rightly as favourites. But with this week and with what's happened, I've always been a tremendous fan of Sam Burgess because of the way that he dealt with MND early on in his teenage years with his dad.
Yes.
So I think there's a little bit of poetry in Sam Burgess in his first year as a coach. On the week that somebody close to the sport died of MND, there's a little bit of poetry in Warrington and Sam Burgess lifting that Challenge Cup. So I don't have a dog in the fight. I want a good game, and I want everybody that stumbles on it to come away and go, they're some impressive individuals physically, because what they've seen through Rob and through Kev is what we are at our very best, because that's what those two are. They're the very, very best of us, and we all aspire to be a little bit more like Kev and a little bit more like Rob. We'll never get there, but if we can be a bit better, and if this week forces me to do anything, or anybody connected with the game, including anybody that listens to this, give your pal a text, drop them a call and catch up, because you never know when it's going to be your last.
Absolutely. And some lovely words from Sam Burgess as well this week. He says, let's try and represent Rob in a great fashion. And he said all 8 teams there will look to put on a great spectacle. Let's get a sold-out crowd. Let's fill the place for such a special bloke. And I think we can all say hear to that. Yeah. Barry, I'm honoured that you've come on and spoken to me about him, and you've shared some wonderful memories. Thank you very much.
Ed. Thank you.
Thank you. So there we have it. The game has lost a true legend, a word so often overused in sport, but so fitting this time. Rob Burrow's legacy lives on. The first ever Rob Burrow Man of the Match award will be presented after this year's grand final. His £6.8 million treatment centre is now being built in Leeds, and the memories we all have of him will never, ever fade. Rest in peace, Rob Burrow, CBE. Our thoughts are with all of his family. There'll be minute silences at the 2 Wembley finals this week. Let's hope we've reflected on a Wembley Challenge Cup final that the great Rob Burrow would have been proud of. We leave you this week with a special poem written and narrated by Stevo himself. It's another wonderful tribute. Until next week, from Stevo, Barry and me, goodbye.
His speed and sidestep was up there with the best, evading many defences, most claimed better than the rest. Too small, they said, not tough enough was the cry, until of course he produced another amazing try. Explosive speed, a sidestep one way and then the other, difficult to stop, as all defences would discover. His career was shaped with grit and determination. The medal tally alone, proud, he was simply a sensation. But it was off the field where he truly made his mark, fighting the odds with his future looking stark. His smile said it all, determined to the final curtain. His memory will live on, of that we all know is certain.